Hi there! Now that I have your attention, let's talk about the latest update. You just saw one of the new special attacks, but before we break that down, I want to give you a quick overview of the game and everything I've been working on recently. There are new systems, new fixes, and a lot of small improvements that make the game feel much better. One of the first things I wanted to fix was the movement speed. At first I wasn't sure if it was actually wrong, but something felt a little off, especially when the character was running. So the best way to check that was to open the original game and compare both versions side by side. With both games running at the same time, I started adjusting the movement values in Godot, trying to match the original as close as possible. So here I'm inside the player script settings. These values control how fast the character moves in the game. The walk speed is used for normal movement and the run speed is used when the player starts running. Right now my values are a little too high, so the character feels much faster than in the original game. To fix that, I'm going to lower the walk speed and the run speed and test the game again side by side with the original. The goal is not necessarily to get the exact same number, but to make the movement feel as close as possible. After testing different values, I got the movements pretty close to the original game. But since we're playing as Goku, I wanted the movement to feel a little slower and more controlled. So I reduced the speed a bit, tested again, and this is the result. Another thing I had to fix was how the enemy hits worked. When multiple enemies attack the player, some of the hit would miss because the player was already in a hurt or invisible state. That made fights feel too forgiving, especially when you were surrounded. In the original game, enemies can pressure you much more. If you get caught between multiple enemies, you can get hit several times very quickly. So I changed the damage system to make group fights feel closer to the original. Now that the enemy hit system is fixed, you can see that these 4 enemies can actually pressure me. It looks a little extreme because I'm losing HP really fast, but that's exactly why I added Goku's pole attack. The special attack is stronger than the normal punch, and because Goku is using the pole, it has better reach. To keep it balanced, the attack uses ki, so the player can't just spam it forever. The main purpose of this move is to help you escape dangerous situations. If you get surrounded by enemies, one pole attack can punch them back, give you more space and let you recover. Also, I want to give a big thanks to the artist who helped me with the animation. He took the idea I had for the attack and helped me turn it into real sprites. He's also been giving me ideas and helping me with animations, and that makes the game feel much more alive. For the next part of the update, I started working on TP and different maps. Since Camera Island was already in the game, I wanted to add the inside of the house too. This was a good way to test if the player could move from one map to another properly. But before working on the TP itself, I wanted the door to open when the player gets close to it. So I made a small system where the door changes style and opens automatically. It sounds simple, but it was actually harder than I expected. After changing the scripts, adjusting the values and testing it a lot, the door finally works. Now when the player gets close to it, the door opens like it should. Now let's talk about the TP system. I wanted the script to be flexible, so I added several options directly in the inspector. I can choose if the player needs to press a button to TP or if the TP happens automatically. I can control the fade out, the fade in, how dark the screen gets, and even if the player should walk forward before the transition starts. I can also choose the direction the player should face after arriving on the next map. I added all of these options because different TP needs different behavior. For a door, I wanted the player to walk into it before changing maps. But for something like a portal, I might want the TP to happen instantly when the player touches it. So with this system, I can reuse the same script in different situations and just change the settings. So here when I walk into the door, the game takes control of the player for a moment, the character walks forward, the screens fade out, the UI gets darker to show that the player is in a transition. During the transition, movement, attacks and special attacks are locked. Then the map changes, the screen fades back in, and the player appears inside the house facing the direction I selected. Now let's talk about the inside of the house. As you can see, the UI is darker here. That's intentional. If you played the original game, you know that there are some areas where you're not supposed to fight. You can't purge, use special attacks or start combat. So I wanted a clear visual indicator for that. When the UI gets darker, it tells the player that the combat is disabled in this area. To make this work, I added a non-combat zone inside the house level. This zone covers the entire map, so to explain it simply, when the player is inside this zone, attacking is disabled. The player can still move around normally, but combat actions are locked, and the darker UI shows that this is a safe area. For the last part of the video, I wanted to add something new. Something that makes the project feel more like an actual game. And for a Dragon Ball game, one of the most important things is collecting items, especially Dragon Balls. In my old videos, I showed the menu and the inventory system. But at that time, it was only a placeholder. I said I would come back to it later, and now I finally started working on it. Here you can see that my inventory is empty and there are 2 items on the map, 1 Dragon Ball and 1 cookie. The item system now supports different types of items, like key items and consumable items. Key items like Dragon Ball are meant to stay in your inventory. Consumable items like the cookie can be used to restore HP or give other effects. So first, I'm going to pick the Dragon Ball. Of course, the animations and the sounds are not there yet, but it's not that important for now. Now, when I open the inventory, you can see the Dragon Ball is inside. And if I change maps and come back, the Dragon Ball doesn't appear on the ground again, it stays collected and stays in my inventory. That sounds normal, but I actually had a bug where the same item kept reappearing every time I changed maps. Now that system is fixed. Next, I'm going to pick the cookie. And now in the inventory you can see both items, the Dragon Ball and the cookie. I can move through the list, select different items, and the description change depending on the item I'm looking at. The descriptions are small and simple, but they explain what each item does. So that's it for this update and the improvements I made to the game. The videos are taking a little longer now because we're getting deeper into the actual system. Things like sprites, animations, map transitions, items, combat, and all these small details takes time to build properly. For the next step, I want to work on Goku's house and the area around it, based on where he lived as the kid in the original Dragon Ball manga. After that, I want to start working on the save system. Before it didn't really make sense to add a saving, because there wasn't much to save yet. But now, with the different maps, items, inventory progress and level ups, a save system actually makes sense. The player will need to save their progress, their collected items, their level and everything they've unlocked. Of course, I also have more attacks planned for Kid Goku. And we're working on new sprites and animations whenever we can. The game is still in early stage, but I feel like it's slowly getting closer to something actually playable. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like and a comment. I try to read everything and I try to reply to everyone. And if you have ideas to improve the game, or if you're an artist and you want to help with sprites or some animations, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for the support.